There's been times this year where Mazzulla says, stick together while Jaylen Brown has talked about doing different things. I think those things can somehow alter what the team is ultimately trying to do this year. But when it comes to last night's loss, this is problem number 3. Fourth quarters. It's not about being closers. It's not about closing games. But I feel as though Mazzulla ball, when they play at their best, is front running, which you can look at as a good thing or a bad thing. I know some people like to use the word as a bad thing. But I think that Mazzulla ball, when they play that style, they're unbeatable and teams tap out, which is what they used to be. This year's version is not last year's team. They do look older. There are issues when it comes to substitutions, and clearly Jaylen Brown is not the same guy. Maybe the bench isn't as good, but for the most part, this team's still top 5 defense and offense. But for last night's loss, I blame Joe Mazzulla. There were defensive breakdowns. Even having Luke Cornett on the floor in a late situation is a problem. That's on Mazzulla. And Mazzulla was completely out-coached last night by Ime Udoka. Mazzulla whiffed on a couple of things. And when it comes to the 2 final defensive plays, I'm glad Mazzulla said it was on him because he's the one who instructed Cornett and Brown on what to do. And essentially, Udoka pulled the okie dokie on him. They fell for it twice and got behind Cornett. Again, Cornett being on the court is a Mazzulla problem, not a Cornett problem, despite the fact that Porzingis had 5 fouls, Tillman was terrible, Kata couldn't play, and there was no Al Horford. But they blew another double-digit lead. They now have 9 blown leads of double digits this year. It was also at home. If the Celtics hold a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes to go, they should win the game. Instead, they've been collapsing. And last night, the Rockets outscored the Celtics 25-11 to close out the game. Houston hit 9 of its 15 shots. They shot 60% during that stretch. They went 2 for 4 from 3. All 9 were assisted on. Something when you look at the numbers with the Celtics, when they have under 30 assists a night, they struggle to win games. The Celtics made just 4 of its 14 attempts late last night. With that 12-point lead, they went 1 for 7 from 3. They shot 28% from the field. And quite frankly, I blame Jaylen Brown for those shooting woes. Jason Tatum was double-teamed. He had to pass it out of situations, and when they did pass out of situations, Jaylen Brown shot the basketball. He didn't slow things down, didn't try to work it out or try to get it back to Tatum, or even look inside for that matter. He took the shots and went 0 for 5. Now, I also want to put some blame on Jason Tatum. 0 points in the first half is completely unacceptable, but I also want to put that on Mazzulla. 0 points in the first half. The 6 minutes he didn't play last night, I believe Skaz had this note that they were a minus 13. They couldn't score. Brown had 28 points, was the leading scorer. They lose. I also mentioned 0 for 5 down the stretch. The talent's there. They can win by just their philosophy and numbers alone. That will keep them in the conversation of NBA Finals. But there are times where Joe Mazzulla gets outcoached. And quite frankly, it's all on the defensive end and in the fourth quarters. And keeping games close, maybe there is something to what Gary Washburn said maybe a month ago, saying that teams don't fear them anymore. You certainly didn't see the Rockets fear the Celtics last night. When the Celtics were up double digits last night, they got tougher. They shot better. They had better quality shot. They looked to Dylan Brooks and Amen Thompson. But let me give you some of these numbers quickly. I mentioned the 9th fourth quarter lead. 7 of those 9 came at home. Allowing Dylan Brooks to shoot 10 of 15 from 3 last night when he was shooting 31% coming into the game is completely unacceptable on the defensive end. But the fourth quarter struggles, it's now a trend. It's now persistent. In their 15 losses this year, they rank last in the NBA in field goal percentage. They're 26th in three-point percentage. Their offensive rating is 22nd in the league. They're even worse defensively, 29th defensive rating. Opponents are shooting 53% against the Celtics in the fourth quarter in all of their losses. Teams are shooting 47% from 3. Best in the league. Where did the defense go? And when I bring up Mazzulla and when I bring up Jaylen Brown, when I saw Ime Udoka last night, they played defense. They made Jason Tatum work to get out of double teams. They made the Celtics take bad shots. They played defense. I feel like Jaylen Brown wants to be a team known as a defensive team, yet when you look at the stats last night, the Rockets and Celtics both shot the same amount of threes, or at least around the same percentage. Free throws, same. Rebounds, the same. In the end, it came down to defense and making plays. The Celtics with a 12-point lead, their stars, one of them got shut down, the other one went over. It was defense and coaching. And I feel like that's the biggest issue for the Celtics this year. I feel like they've lost that edge when it comes to defending, but also knocking down shots when it matters. So, although they have the best roster in the NBA, I think at times their coach does get in the way. The philosophy, the statistics, the analytics, it gets in the way. You had a 12-point lead at home and you blew it again for the 9th time this year. I'm starting to at least admit this is not the same team as a year ago. During this stretch, we've seen it twice now. When they come back from a road trip, they lose. They lost to Sacramento, and last night they lost to Houston. I blame that stuff on coaching. And I'm starting to wonder how important is Joe Mazzulla to all this. I love his mindset. I love his antics. At times, he leans hard into the analytics. But late in the game, Ime Udoka leaned on defense and getting the ball to his best players. The Celtics couldn't do that last night. And to me, I blame that on coaching. And when it came to actually getting a stop, 2 stops, by the way, it was the coach who advised the players what to do, and the other coach out-schemed him. All those things happened in the final minute of the game last night. But it's a trend now. It's been a persistent issue. And now, every team's going to give them their best. I don't think teams are going to fear the Celtics in coming into the Garden anymore. So that's why I say their philosophy of Mazzulla ball, it does work. When you make stops and hit your shots late in games. It's something they haven't done. And these big losses, they're getting worse. We'll leave it there at 617-779-0985. I'll hear what Skaz has to say about that. But some of the shooting woes down the stretch. Woof. Woof. If you like that clip, check out more videos from my show, The Joe Murray Show, here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist.